Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I've got breaking XRP news, two news stories that are incredible. And I want to say, if you've never owned cryptocurrency, I'd highly suggest you look into it. And out of all the cryptocurrencies, I don't know of one that's got such a stable, great outlook than XRP, run by Ripple. The reason why is because first off, XRP completely missed the last bull run in like 2021, that area. It missed it because of what the SEC was trying to do by holding it back. And quite frankly, it's pretty obvious now as the SEC has pretty much forgiven every other crypto that it went after and tried to sue. Just about every single one it's let go, yet it's still holding on to XRP. Now, quite frankly, and this is the conspiracy theory side of me, conspiracy side of me, I believe that's because they are keeping that down, pushed down to allow their buddies to buy more. Type 1 if you agree with that, if you own XRP. And do me a favor, type XRP down in the chat and let's fire it up. All right, so as we jump into the first story, it's about XRP futures volume on the CME. They have now just hit a record, okay? Real quick, down below, we're almost filled the capacity for the DeFi Pro Master Group, and this is the last time we're ever going to let people in on the trade picks for me and Dylan, what we're buying, what we're selling, and when, all that stuff. So if you want that, links down below. Okay, now this story comes out of CoinDesk. It says institutional investors prefer CME derivatives for regulated exposure to digital assets, avoiding direct ownership. It says here, these are the bullet points we're going to talk about them. The CME's XRP futures market registered a record trading volume of over $235 million on Friday. It says institutional investors prefer the CME regulated exposure, like we said, because a lot of them want to avoid direct ownership. It's a lot easier for tax purposes and liquidity a lot of the times to do it this way. It says here, Ripple, which uses XRP for cross-border transactions, has applied for a banking license in the US. That is absolutely huge. Now it says here, together, the standard and micro futures registered a total trading volume of 235 million on Friday, which is the highest on record. The tally takes the cumulative trading since inception on May 19th to 1.6 billion, according to data sources from CME Active Trader. So considering that the cumulative total was 1.6 billion, to see that just the other day we registered 235 million is massive. Okay, it not only means more activity on that platform, however, also what it means is increased adoption. Okay, so that's only going to get more impressive. It says the standard XRP contracts are sized at 50,000 XRP and micro contracts are at 2,500 XRP. So if any of those traders were buying leveraged futures, whether it be micro or the normal futures contract, they made a lot of money over the last handful of days. Now, the next story I want to talk about that I think is very relevant for XRP, and again, you know, I've owned XRP for a long time, and I tell people, you know, there are other cryptos that are going to make more on a percentage basis than XRP, okay? However, when de-risking your portfolio or stepping in, first off, I always suggest just wading in just a little bit of money at a time. That's just my thing, not going all in on one thing. But out of all of the cryptocurrencies worldwide, XRP to me has the least volatility, not as a percentage, because, you know, we all know that when Bitcoin drops, you know, let's say 3%, XRP can drop 6, right? And not on the upside, it does the same thing. But when I'm talking about a company that is putting out a platform like the XRPL and developing it and getting institutions to buy into it, banks to buy into it, companies to use it, all that stuff, I don't know of another company out there than who is doing a better job at getting adoption, worldwide adoption, than Ripple's doing with XRP. You agree with that? Type 2. I'm just curious. And if you're like, no, I think there's way better cryptos out there, type 3. Because this is a fair stock. Now, this is really important. This is what it's really exciting me. Ripple, this comes out of tipranks.com. Ripple strikes deal to bring Dubai real estate to the XRP ledger. Now, we know that it's been Ripple's vision for quite some time to put tokenized or record real estate transactions on the XRPL. says here, Ripple is taking another serious step into real world asset tokenization. The company has just teamed up with Control Out, a licensed digital asset firm in the UAE, to bring Dubai's real estate sector on chain. Says here, gosh, all these ads. How many of you guys are getting sick and tired of all these crazy ads? Oh, come on. What are we doing? Can't even learn how to, we can't even find the X half the time. It says here, Dubai, the Dubai Land Department is a leading government-led effort to bring property ownership on chain. Control Out is building the interface, but Ripple's technology provides the secure rails that keep the system running. That includes lifecycle management of digital titles, from insurance to transfer using blockchain infrastructure. This gives Dubai a faster, more transparent way to manage real estate transactions, ownership history, transfer of deeds, and even fractionalized investment opportunities all become easier to track and automate with less friction and more trust. It says here, this deal shows how the XRP ledger is moving into real utility phase, handling real world assets, not just crypto native ones. Tokenized property ownership has been discussed for years, but Ripple and Control Out are actually executing it with government support and legal clarity. This expands the use case for XRP's ecosystem and offers long-term validation for Ripple's custody and compliance strategy, with Dubai regulators on board and Ripple already licensed with the DFSA. This partnership adds another layer of institutional credibility. Now, when we're talking about the DSFA, well, you know what? I'll go into that another time. It's interesting because, people hear these stories. I'm going to give you a little personal information here. A company that I'm working with and helping to consult with, a crypto company that wants to run part of its network on the XRPL. It is incredibly difficult to get a hold of anyone that wants to do any business at Ripple. True story. You hear all these stories about this stuff, but the truth is, there are a lot of companies that want to start running tokens, certain digital assets on the XRPL, and they can't even get through. Now, could this be because they're completely SAMmed? I believe that's the case, but there isn't a really easy way for the CEOs or the C-suite execs of these up and coming blockchain technology companies to get their stuff listed on the XRPL and running on that. And that's our next goal, to get that set up and running, because it's already running on multiple other things like Base, Arbitrum, and things like that. Because there are a lot of companies like the one that I'm working with that wants to run on multiple platforms, because you want to grab the most attention and have the most flexibility, along with flexibility when it comes to coding and all that stuff, but also the most amount of people that may want to be able to be a part of your ecosystem. And it's exciting. It's also frustrating. That's why I'm going to Hong Kong soon to meet people in the industry that are going to help shape those techs. Probably run into some of the Ripple execs there. Anyway, I want to remind you guys, this is one of the last days that we're going to be offering this crypto DeFi master course, where you get to learn everything about buying decentralized finance crypto tokens before they go on big exchanges, how to secure them, do all that kind of good stuff, but also our tips on the cryptos that we're buying and when we're buying and selling and all that stuff. So if you want, the links down below. Hopefully you had a great time. Hopefully you learned something, and I hope that you're diversifying. There's one thing to have an XRP trading bag. There's another thing to be holding on for the long term, not only in tax, better tax rates from long-term and short-term capital gains, but also, it's nice to be able to wake up someday like, hey, you bought Priceline stock at $3 in the year 2000, and now it's like, what, $1,900 or whatever it is. Think about that kind of wealth over time, where you just have a certain amount stacked aside. Let me ask you this really quick. Type long or short. Are you long or short XRP right now? And I don't mean short as far as shorting because you think it's going to go down. I'm thinking you just bought it this week trying to flip it for a profit next week. I'm just curious how many people right here. And someone asked a great question: what backs crypto? That is the most excellent question. check this out. This is my 3-second or 30-second pitch. Just like the US government backs and it's with its military, the US dollar, and scares the piss out of the rest of the world, what backs cryptocurrency, or should we say blockchain technology, is it's a truth machine where every transaction is confirmed with thousands of computers worldwide, even yours, if you wanted to use your computer to do so and get paid to do it. And part of that truth machine is not only the transactions, but how much crypto is in existence, what wallets is it in, and where it's moving. That is what gives crypto a value. All right, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. The Economic Ninja is out.